welcome to Will Hunt with Planet Drum. Thank you, first of all, for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Grazie.
You started with one clinic, and then you're playing now in a concert. Just tell us something about this little tour here.
Well, basically, Steph Burns kind of turned me on to my booking agent over here and tour manager, Alberto. And the idea was to basically come over here and do some clinics, and I ended up doing 2 clinics on this tour. And then also play some shows with some bands, like locally, and kind of to just, create somewhat of a career in Italy where I'm able to play over here occasionally, in between Vasco gigs. And so basically what I've been doing is playing with several different bands, and surprisingly it's gone really well. There's been a couple of times when it was like, whoa, okay, maybe this isn't going to work, but mostly it's really good, and it's been a really positive experience.
You mentioned Vasco, which is a great artist here in Italy. How did you get the gig with Vasco?
Well, I had a friend of mine who's a video director in Los Angeles, Dean Carr, who called me or sent me a text or Facebook or something and said, hey, call this guy. They're looking for somebody to play some shows in Italy over the summer. And so I wrote him back and I said, well, who is this? And he said, I'll find out. And he texted me back and said, it's Vasco Rossi. And I'm like, who? I had no idea. And I thought, honestly, that it was just, some metal guy or something like that was going to have me come over and play some shows. I'm like, okay, so before I called the manager guy, I Wikipedia'd Vasco and YouTubed him. And then I'm like, had to wipe my eyes, like, what? Like, really? And they said in Wikipedia that he was Italy's Bruce Springsteen / Bon Jovi. And so I called the guy, and I'm like, absolutely, I'll definitely do this. That looks amazing, and Vasco seemed really cool and powerful on stage. And so I did it, and at first I thought I was being, they were BSing me, kind of fibbing or something. But then I was like, no, this is really real. So it was cool, very neat.
Did you have any problem with the language, because it was the first time with an Italian artist, which we are famous that we don't really speak much English here in Italy.
Right. No, really lucky for me, again, Steph Burns comes into the equation because he's been doing it for so long, and now lives in Italy. He's married to an Italian woman, speaks really good Italian. So thank God that I have him there, because he speaks pretty good English. But, so does Clara. Clara helps out a lot. Kukia helps out a lot. Vasco speaks a little bit of English, enough. Yeah, and he's got a way. He can, if he wants something, he can explain it to me. And then Guido also, speaks enough English, and we get through it. The more difficult thing was learning 32 songs that I'd never heard in my life. Because every gig that I've ever gone into, I have some familiarity with the material. Where at this time it was like, here's 32 songs that I've never heard in my life, all sang in Italian. And so normally where you'd look for vocal cues to kind of, and lyric cues to help you learn the arrangement of the song, that didn't apply to this at all. So, but surprisingly, it went really smooth.
What thing did you really learn from this experience? Something that you didn't imagine before?
Well, wow. Honestly, I thought that something that would be very different in terms of rehearsals and maybe how they put things together and stuff like that. What I learned is that it really is not that different. That good musicians are good musicians. And you don't necessarily have to speak the same language to speak the same language musically. And that certainly applied to this.
been a member of Evanescence since 2007, if I'm not wrong,
See.
with the Open Door Tour.
Correct.
And you remained with them since then.
Yes.
How did you start with that band?
With Evanescence, I was actually playing drums for Vince Neil in his solo band, and we were playing a show in Las Vegas, and I got a phone call during sound check, which I heard the message after sound check from Evanescence manager, and asking if I might be interested in coming in and finishing out the Open Door Tour. So I called him back immediately and said absolutely. And at the time, you know, Amy was very honest about her intentions, and she said that, you know, hey, look, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. You know, I'm going to finish out the 7 months left on this tour, and then I don't know, you know, so I just want to tell you that up front, you know, so that you don't come into this thinking that, hey, there's going to be more, because there might not be more. So I did it anyways, you know. I gambled, and, you know, we did finish the tour, and we were gone for 5 years. And we came back, and it was a really cool experience because we got to write a record together, and, you know, we just recently played some more shows about a month ago, and we finished in Japan. And, you know, it seems like that we're maybe going to do some more stuff, but I don't know yet, you know. Amy will decide that, and she'll let everybody know.
I've read once that you are very good friends. You hang around together with a band. How important, according to you, is sharing even things apart from music with a band to make good music?
That's a tough question, because every, how do you say this? Every camp, you know, in America we say, you know, we call bands like that's their camp and their camp, you know. And every camp is different. Every camp deals with things in different ways. And, you know, sometimes it works out better for me where some gigs I'm just really stealth. Like, you know, I show up when I'm supposed to be there, I do my job really well, and then I kind of go off on my own. And sometimes that works better. It just depends on the personalities. But in a situation like Evanescence, we really like each other. You know, we're friends. Like, when we see each other, it's a really warm feeling, and it's like we really miss each other, you know. And I guess, you know, apart from playing shows with the band, that's kind of the biggest bummer when we're taking long breaks, is that we don't really see each other. You know, we all live in different places. We all have our own lives. So when we do get together, it's really special, and we spend a lot of time together. That being said, like with Vasco, with that band, you know, I've definitely grown very close to those people in that band, and it's really, that's a family vibe within that band for sure, because they've been together a long time. I'm certainly the new guy, and me and actually Vince and I were new together, so that was kind of neat that we were able to share that experience together. But then there's some camps where, you know, you just don't hang out. So how important is it to creating music? I don't know. Maybe not at all, you know. I mean, people can write good songs without being friends. I mean, look at the Beatles. You know, there was John and Paul were not best buddies when they wrote some of their best music, so I guess it's not that important.
Of your other projects, back in 2013, you joined up with the members of Low Pro in a new project. It's called White Noise All. You released an EP back in 2014, right?
Yes.
There has been talks about a full-length record. Is there going to be a full-length record from White Noise All?
Well, a lot's going on with that. We actually just signed a deal with Warner Brothers New Zealand, which is a strange thing, because you don't really think about, okay, yeah, they like us in New Zealand of all places, but they do. So we signed a record deal with Warner Brothers, and what they're doing is they're taking the EP and they're releasing it, re-releasing that, and they're going to be, you know, putting out a single on New Zealand radio. in the interim, in January, I go into the studio with the same producer that did the first EP, and we're doing 6 or 7 more songs, brand new songs. So what'll happen probably, I can't say how this is going to go down, but my guess would be that we'll wind up combining the new 7 songs with the original 4 songs and putting that out as a full-length album. So there'll be 7 brand new songs on it, maybe 8, and the old 4, and then releasing that probably everywhere else but New Zealand, and then in New Zealand probably just put out the 7 songs by itself. But I think people will be really surprised about the new stuff. Yeah, we've really pushed the envelope, and it's like a hybrid between 30 Seconds to Mars and Radiohead and just so much other stuff. It's really, really cool. Yep.
You want to talk about a little bit about your drum set and the stuff you play?
Well, I use Pearl drums, and they're amazing drums. I use the Reference series, so you don't really need triggers. They sound phenomenal. But that being said, when I started playing with Tommy Lee in 2002, he was already really heavy into the triggering system, and ideally, it's a great combination to use microphones and triggers. And the thing about the triggers is, particularly in a situation like playing in a club where you've got a different sound guy every night, you just don't know what you're going to get, is that it makes it really easy to get phenomenal drum sounds. And I'm triggering everything. I'm triggering the kick drum, the snare drum, and the toms. And there's just so many positives from it, but one of which is that you can really fine-tune your sound. And where, the samples that I have in my brain that I'm using, are recorded in a studio on, probably Neve preamps with, $7,000 microphones, and they've got all the compression and the massive, amazing reverbs and everything, and I can change it and fix it however I want. And you're just not going to get that kind of quality in a live environment. It's impossible. So it's good to have the triggers as backup, but also as what I like to say, the insurance policy. And it keeps, every night I know that it's going to sound amazing, no matter who's running sound.
The way you want.
Exactly, exactly.
Of yesterday that Vasco is going to play also here in Rome.
Yes. Yeah.
Will you be part of the band?
16. Yes, I believe so. That's I was called about it a little while ago. I wasn't really given any details, so the news for me was the same as it was for everyone else. I mean, I'd heard, hey, maybe this is going to happen. Can you make sure that you're available? And so I said, yeah, okay. And the scary thing is that right when when Evanescence finished in Japan, I was saying bye to Amy, and I just said, hey, listen, I'd like to know what's going on, next year, because I've been called about going back to Italy. And she said that, or the manager actually said, well, we're thinking about the European festivals, which is the exact same time as the Vasco stuff. And I'm like, mamma mia. So but luckily, that's not happening. And so if Evanescence does anything, it would be later in the year. So it works out. Yeah, I didn't have to, make a choice or anything like that. I'm just really glad. Yeah, really glad.
Well, keep us updated.
I absolutely will, man.
Many thanks for taking your time and answering our questions. And you have any final word of wisdom to say to the people that are watching Planet Drum?
Words of wisdom, man. I don't, for me, it's like play from your heart, do what you love, and do it well. And, that's my best piece of advice for anything, I think. Respect the groove.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, man. Pleasure.